we have understudies and swings, and yet, that I think is something important for kids to learn about because a lot of their future can involve that. So I want you to talk about your experiences being an understudy and or a swing. First of all, why don't you describe the difference, because I know people know the difference between understudy and a swing.
Right, so when you're doing a show and there are the principal roles, and then usually there's a whole bunch of other people that are in the ensemble, and those principal roles, on Broadway, if they get sick or if they're on vacation or something happens and they can't be there, then someone has to step in and take that part. If you are in the show and you're one of those people, then you're an understudy. So you have your own regular part in the show. In this theater, I was in Young Frankenstein, right? So I actually played a whole bunch of different roles. I played just a bunch of different.
You did a great digger or something, right? In the opening scene.
It was fun. I had like 11 costumes. That wasn't fun, but different ways. But then I also understudied Roger Bart, who played Dr. Frankenstein. And then I was in a show on Broadway called Scarlet Pimpernel, where I was a swing and I didn't have a part in the show. So if everyone was healthy and there, then I was just at the theater, backstage or in my dressing room. But then if someone would get sick, then I would go on for that part. And if you're an understudy, you can understudy many roles, you can understudy one role. Swings usually cover a wide range of roles, more than one.
How many is Scarlet Pimpernel did you cover?
I think that was a huge cast, because this was also 97, I think. I ended up 17 tracks, because it was huge. And then at a certain point, they just kept saying, "Can you just let me set the 2 tracks?" Because they weren't that different, really. But that was lucky. That was the first time I ever swung, and I was very lucky because this is an odd thing, but the choreographer of the show was also in the show. So I did all the rehearsals in his track, and I did almost all the previews. So he kept saying, you know this track better than I do. So I didn't have that thing that swings dread, which is that they're waiting and waiting and waiting to finally go on. And it's very nerve-wracking. Plus I had a whole set of costumes right away.
They're made for you. And by the way, when this is track, that's really an expression that began, we're talking about this in the 80s, that we don't even really approve of, but we just kind of do it out of habit. It used to be called a role. But when when these long-running shows began, it literally was like an assembly line. So it's like your track, it's literally like a railroad track. You can come on, you go off, you have a quick change, you come back. It's literally like you're following a track. And it was never really called that, really, I think.
I didn't think about that. Although they did call that in theme parks, which was the first job I ever had, because you actually aren't playing a role. So it makes sense. You sing certain songs and you dance certain dances, and that was your track. But that reminds me of that story when we were in Young Frankenstein. Megan started this joke where she would go up to Roger Bart, who had played Dr.
It was like the lead.
The lead of the show, and she would go up and go, "Roger, you have a really good track in this show." Like, as if we'd all been cast theme park style, and then we just got put in different things, and like, "Your track is really good." Yeah, that was like the whole run of the show. "Megan, your track is hard."
So the two things I want to say, first of all, about being the understanding the swing, and this is also where teaching pays off, is learning how to read music, because you have to not just know the lines, you have to know every single person's harmony part. So as a musician, you had to be able to read, oh my God, Forever Plaid. I don't know Forever Plaid, but it's incredibly close harmonies. And I did that show, music director, when I first met Paul as a music director. Probably 22 songs, and Paul, you covered 3 different harmony parts.
Eventually, I started off with 2, yeah. That was
so it's the exact same songs, the exact same lyrics, and like harmony parts that are like a step off. So like it is totally where I feel training in high school completely pays off.
Yeah, absolutely. That you have to be very disciplined about. And also to be a swing, you have to, it's just a lot of hard work and sort of writing a lot of things down.
Being OCD, I mean,
taking a lot of notes and watching it and wanting it to be right. But I think because, my first job on Broadway, I played Eugene in Grease, and that was fun, and I just had that one part, I almost said track. It was a really good track. No, I just had that one role, and I never took being a swing or an understudy any differently. Do you know what I mean?
You treated it equally.
I felt like I had to be, right on it whenever I went on, especially in Pimpernel, which wasn't a dance show, so I actually was playing a lot of different roles. And of course, then that one time I went on.
Yeah, please talk about that. I don't even know Pimpernel, but there are a lot of ensemble tracks, and then there's this one leading role that Jules Chanson played. He's like the younger brother, and he's singing these crazy high songs. So you understood the ensemble, and you understood that lead role. So talk about that for a second.
Right, so I was the swing, and then he had he had an understudy who had his normal track, and that guy had been on many times because I was learning my swing track.
And usually there's priorities, usually first understudy, second understudy.
Right, and I had enough on my plate. I was learning all these different parts, and so he had gone on for the role of the brother. I'm on many, many times. The show had been open a couple months, and I'm sure I was going to get around to really learning that part. Well, my Catholic school training paid off. I had it all written out. I knew exactly where he went and what he did, and I basically knew all of his lines, and basically knew the song. But the production stage manager really liked me. He's a friend of mine, and I was at the Y, actually. Yeah, I got a call around 3 o'clock saying, "Paul, you're on Farm On tonight."
You did Paul a favor.
He was like, I just really want to give you a chance to do this part. You know, do you think you can do it? Are you ready to go on? So, the real answer was no. But the honest answer was no, but he was putting all this faith in me, saying, I want to give you this opportunity. I just felt like I couldn't say, you know what, no, I'm not ready. Let me get back to working out, you know. So I said yes, went right to the theater, got out all my notes and my note cards, met with the assistant musical director, sang through this, it was a duet with the leading lady, Christina Andreas was her name. Did a duet with her, I just practiced it. But the thing about Pimpernel was that it was a huge cast with a huge set, and there was a lot of things that you could never rehearse with all the technicians because it cost the theater so much money. In other words, we can't bring in the entire crew to practice this stunt that the track that I was about to do had to do. So it involved, have you guys ever been to a show where the whole theater iris is in with panels coming in from left and right and top and bottom? Yeah, it kind of ends up looking like a TV screen. So my sister was in the coach, which was this contraption that was moving. I had to backstage crawl up on this thing. They were explaining this to me. Of course, I'd never done it. What you're going to do is you're going to crawl up here. A gunshot's going to go off, so make sure you cover your ear. Swing through this opening, and it'll look like you're swinging into the coach from the top of the coach. But be careful, because if you swing too hard, you will fall out of the coach and onto the stage, and there's no way you can get back into the coach. This is like, you know,
I can't practice it.
Yeah, this is that half hour before the show, and I was in such a stage, I was like, You just kept nodding, like, right? And then there's like, do you want to run through the fight choreography for the part where you get bayoneted? I was like, sure. Back, like, we had real bayonets with metal points. They had been filed down. So I ran through this, you know, this whole fight sequence where I get, you know, knocked out. Not even thinking like, maybe I should run the duet with Christina Andreas, the thing that actually people will be listening to. Anyway, the nice thing about the role, looking back, was that he was on stage, he would go off stage for a bit. So basically what I was doing is I would do the scene, I would run off stage, I would look at all my notes, I'd go over the next scene, I would look at where I was supposed to be, I'd run on, and I just kept doing that the whole show. And through the coach, cover your ear. And I did, I have a friend named Jenny Ford who's writing a book on how to be a swinger. So the one thing you have to do is just turn the page. You can't think behind, you can't think forward. You have to just, which is actually a good acting note. You know, just be in the moment if you can. Oh, I'm getting nervous thinking about it. It was so crazy. By the way, there were crazy costume changes because it was the 1700s with wigs and get your glove on. I'm like, what glove? What are you talking about? So then this is the part you're like, we're in the dungeon. I'm singing this. When I could sing high, I was singing this song with Christina Andreas, and we're in the dungeon. We're about to be killed, and it's actually a really beautiful song, and. I was a little in awe. I mean, I knew who she was. She'd been in the Oklahoma revival. You know, Tony nominee, anyway, whatever. So I'm singing it with her, and the whole time I'm just thinking, the next lyric is, the next note is, the next lyric is, but I'm looking at her and I'm singing it, and the whole thing goes, and I don't forget a line, and everything goes fine, I get done. And it actually all was fine. You know, everyone was really happy with it. The whole show ended, and I thought, oh my God, what just happened? I didn't remember any of it. And Christine was very sweet. She called me in her dressing room. She said, Paul, you were so wonderful. She's still a leading lady. You're so wonderful. You know, she was very nice. But then she said, if I can just say one thing, when you're singing, you have a lot of tension in your hands. So you should let that go. So you couldn't open up your throat. And I went on to say, because I didn't know the song. I learned it today. I was like, that's good, Christine, you're right. I'm gonna let that go. And learn the role.
Amazing. Okay.